they chose me last here. That was on my my survey for last year was brevity, so we'll keep going here. First of all, my name is Matt Fridley. For the television audience that doesn't know, my name is Matt Fridley. This is my 5th year at Mark Twain Elementary. I always take this chance to say thank you to the board for your work. You support us. You take care of our students from a different aspect than we do. We appreciate your work, and I hope you know that. So thank you for allowing us to present tonight. I have put together a quick slideshow tonight. I do not have a dance or a song or anything today, so I hope that's okay.
Next year.
But I have included some photos on the side. I do want to try to go off script a little bit and explain some of the things that we're doing over and above our school improvement plan. As you can see on the side here, we have a picture of 2 students working together. We're doing a lot of work with what we call our student leadership team. And last year we presented some information on the student leadership team. This is an example of 2 of our students working together, a 2nd grader and a 4th grader. Without getting too personal, the 4th grader is the youngest of all the children in his house. He needs to feel valued and needed, and he is by his family, but he also feels valued and needed by this young man that he's working with. So it's great to see these kids working together, and you'll see several examples of this throughout the slideshow. I'll tell you that our school improvement plan, the way that we develop it, is we break into 4 teams. Our 4 teams work together collaboratively to put together the goals. We looked at last year's goals, and we always do. We always look back to reflect to see if we've met the goals, but also to look at areas such as our own surveys, the survey we do with family members, to determine are there some areas that we need to work on. This year we put together the 4 teams. They went back and worked individually on the goals for our school improvement plan, and we put together our school improvement plan based on the discussions that we have. We use surveys and academic outcomes to determine what our goals should be. You can see on the side here, it's not a very good picture, but our PTO meetings are well attended. I try to post them every time we have one. The last Tuesday of every month at Mark Twain, we have a ton of parents that show up. We have a great time, and it's a great opportunity for us to continue to talk about the things that we do in our school. We have a highlighted area every month where a teacher will present to parents some of the things that we do. And it's kind of impersonal, or a little more, you can stand and listen to someone and you don't feel like you can't ask a question. So it works really well. We also have the placemat. This will be placed on our website. I try to write this in a way that's easily understood without a ton of acronyms and jargon so that parents can look at this. It's always on the website and a great place for parents to understand what some of our goals are. So it will be there. It's way too small for me to read as well. So it'll be on the website for you to look at. Our first area that we focus on is parent community involvement. One of the things that I think is important and we talk about every year is bringing families into the building, not just for an ice cream social, which we still do. That's important, but also bringing families in to participate in some of the activities that their children are involved in. I'll give you an example of an AR night. Our AR nights involve parents sitting down with a child, reading the actual book that the child would read, and letting the parent take the test. So a parent can understand what AR, Accelerated Reader, looks like. We also bring in families for Earth Day, and they put together some projects with students. Ultimately, our goal is to get parents in the building, not just to show up, but to become active participants in their child's education. Parents seem to enjoy that part of it, and it's a great way for us to get our comfort level with parents and students and teachers to go. We still have our sock hop, we still have our ice cream social and all those important parts, but we're trying to expand the number of opportunities for families to come in and see actually what their children are doing. You can see in the corner here, one of our reading buddies. This is a 4th grade student working with a kindergarten student. During our response to intervention time, which I'll address in a little bit here, we have reading buddies. We have some students that are maybe exceeding expectations with regard to areas in the curriculum. It's a great chance for them to be a mentor to someone who is younger. Our kindergarten students get to look up to someone, they see them in the hallway, and they get to have an opportunity to have someone besides the teacher or a parent read a book to them. They respond really well, and it's great for both students, I believe. The next area is highly qualified staff. We continue to do what we can as a staff to grow. Last year we had, I believe, 6 individuals from our building continue postgraduate work. I know that tonight I have Mr. Cross is up there working on some of his work that he has to do in order to complete it, to work on his master's degree. So advanced degrees are an important part of what we do. We also, our professional development team is working within the building to create opportunities that don't require us to get on the highway and go down to another area to learn things that we can do for our building. One of the things that we've done, we had a breakout session last year during our CSD day, our staff development day, where members of our faculty and staff would present items that they're doing in their classrooms so that others could understand what they were doing. This year, as a result of that, second grade, all teachers in second grade are utilizing Class Dojo. It's immediate feedback. They carry their phone, they click on a point for a student, and parents get immediate feedback about their child's behavior. So that was implemented as a result of one teacher showing another. Some of the best ideas from our building we borrow from one another. So PD in our building, we talk about one of the things that came up in my survey was having time to work with one another within our building. We protect our time on our CSD days to allow staff members to meet in their committees, but also just to work with their colleagues over and above the regular day. Time was a very valuable asset that was identified in my survey, and as a result of that, I've tried to protect a block on every CSD day to allow for that. So we do value our CSD days, and the schedule that is created for us works really well. Up next is instructional resources. In our building, we, 3 years, well, actually it's been an ongoing process. Response to intervention has been a key product that we have worked on for several years. Essentially what we've tried to do is determine which ones of our students needed additional assistance in specific areas and which students were exceeding our expectations. We need to address both groups. We have a response to intervention block every single day. It's a neat place to be in the hallway when 584 students switch classes and they go their own separate ways, and they go to the classroom where they're going to work on the specific skills that they need help with, or maybe work with another student who needs additional assistance because I'm a student who is doing well. So we try to present opportunities for students to be met in the areas where they need help. RTI is, response to intervention is in every single grade level, and as a result of that, our retention rates have dramatically decreased. Last year we had 4 students retained. Years ago, I'm looking back at historical data, we had 23, 25 students at one time being retained. Our goal is to try to meet every student's needs so that we don't have as many retentions. The statistics show that students retained often don't do as well as others. You can see in this, at the top, we have a young lady who's applying some of her math and science skills in a 4th grade classroom. It's always fun to watch them take on a project and work collaboratively to design some of the things that they have to put together. And then down at the bottom, this is an interesting fact. As you well know, one of the areas we've talked about with transition was keeping some of the traditions alive. And this was a meeting we had one day in our building for the Missouri program. I don't know how many of you have ever attended a Missouri program at Mark Twain Elementary, but one of the areas we've talked about is keeping that alive and well at Mark Twain. So we've changed it. We've changed it into a program where this year it involves 3rd and 4th grade students. We have teachers that will be staying after and putting together the program so we will not lose it, and we'll continue to have a Missouri program at Mark Twain Elementary. So trying to keep some of the traditions alive and also change them to fit the needs of our school as we make the transition. Up next is student performance. We consider a child much more than just an MPI, but the MPI is just as important to us. One of the things that we're working with our students is making sure that we use the assessment data that we receive in order to help them grow in all the areas that they need help with. We also work with students. We have positive behavior supports utilized in our building as well in order to help our students, help guide our students through the day. The universals that every school building in Mark Twain and all the elementaries have, our students are well versed, and as a result of that, the discipline numbers continue to decrease. Our positive behavior support team tracks the number of discipline referrals. We look for areas where we can change the way we do things so that children will change their behaviors. For example, the cafeteria this year, we've looked at one of the issues we dealt with for years was the noise level. And one of the things that we're doing for first and second grade is when the bell rings, we have the students go to a zero voice level. And we have local businesses that have donated prizes. We're pulling out some of their gotcha tickets and giving away prizes during that time. So while they're being quiet to listen for their name to be drawn, we're getting what we need, which is them to have an opportunity to eat without being too loud. We tend to see more kids eating their food. But we also have an opportunity to reward students for positive behaviors. So it's working really well. At the top, I have a picture. One of our teachers shared this on her Twitter account. You know, sometimes we forget. We get so caught up in all the things that we do. This was a day we were lining up to come in from recess, and this teacher snapped this picture. It started sprinkling, and of course our initial reaction is to hurry up and get them inside and keep them from getting wet. But as you can see, look what the kids are doing. They're sticking their tongues out. We have to remember that kids are curious and they want to have fun. And this was a great picture. I really appreciated this the day that I saw this. It was a great day. And then down at the bottom, Mrs. Louth reading to her first grade class. We have lots of positive places for students to hear teachers, and Mrs. Louth does a wonderful job of presenting to her students. Up next is governance. All of our staff participates in professional learning communities. Each one of our staff members is involved in a team. At the end of last year, they had the opportunity to choose which team they wanted to be involved with. That was one of the things when I went through my survey, was the discussion about having an opportunity to maybe change the team they work with. In order to facilitate that, we put together a sign-up sheet, and people have changed around. It's been great to see. Some of our teams are more cumbersome than others. Our student assistance team requires a significant amount of time. They meet 3 to 4 times a month for an hour and a half, 2 hours at times, and that can be very taxing on a teacher because it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. It's nice to see other teachers take on roles where they can take over for another teacher who might want to try and have some influence on maybe positive behavior supports or be a part of the professional learning community building leadership team. So the goal is always to let everyone have a voice, and that seems to be working well. We have Picture Day at the top there. We have our PTO come in and actually help run Picture Day. It works really well. We try to brush their hair back if at all possible or make them smile, but as you well know, some kids think it's a fun day. And then Mrs. Crouch down at the bottom, working with one of our friends there, having a good time with Pathways to Reading.
Oh.
This next slide, I have a hard time with this picture because I do like it, and I'll talk about it in just a second. But transition has begun. We've talked about it. We started with the very first PTO meeting. We included in our newsletter. We talked to families about it. This week has been our conference week, as you well know. Parents have been in and out of the building. We will be sending 2 grade levels, 3rd and 4th grade. Our middle school crew came down and had lunch with the 3rd and 4th grade students the other day. I don't know, Mr. Bartle was sharing fries. We had a little issue with that, but the kids enjoyed it. The kids enjoyed it. But our goal is to make not only, we have to think of 2 entities, really. We have to think about the students being comfortable, but also the parents. And so we're trying to hit both of those with conversations, also with just keeping people in the loop. The very first PTO meeting, we had several new parents to Mark Twain, and when I presented the information, some of them, believe it or not, hadn't heard about our transition. So it was nice to take a few minutes to answer a few questions. But Mark Twain PTO, our transition discussions are not just in PTO. We talk about it at our conferences. The 4th grade, the 3rd grade teachers and 4th grade teachers handed out flyers from the middle school that gave information about the transition for next year. So we handed those out during our conferences this week to try to facilitate the discussions that need to occur. This will be the first year we've sent 2 grade levels over there, and our hope is to make that transition as easy as possible. And then finally over here, this is we have another example of some reading buddies, a kindergarten class and a fourth grader. This fourth grader is one of our teachers' children. When I took the picture, he was embarrassed, but it's on the wall outside of the classroom, and he's become less embarrassed when people go, "Aw." So they've begun to realize. My friend there, Garrett, he works really well with the kindergarten kids, and it's fun to see him share his wealth of knowledge with the kindergartners and get them engaged. They love it. So I appreciate the opportunity to present our school improvement plan here, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Any questions? You've been taking a lot of notes.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would